All right, so we get praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahuwah. In the name of Yahushua HaMashiach today. Pick this up in John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal, and they which testify of me. I come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim in you. I come out of his name, you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another, and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you. The Abba, there's one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. But had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Proverbs 15 and 30. Proverbs 15 and 30. Yeah, praise Elohim in the name of Yahshua for the word. Let's go ahead and get in here. And let's make it do what it do. Let's make it do what it do. Hold on 1 second. I need to get myself in the other spot that I've already prepared to be. I need to work my way there so that we can do what we need to do. Give me a second. There we go. Proverbs 15 and 30. The light of the eyes rejoice, the heart, and a good report make the bones fat. That's what we're talking about. But I mentioned it, and we're going to do it now. I mentioned that because we did it for one portion of Psalms 119, and we're going to do this and make it a double feature. We're going to go to each divided division of Psalms 119 and the characters so that we could get a good understanding of the characters, of what they are, so you can familiarize yourself with them and then how they relate. But I need you to come to the book of Revelation. I need you to come to the book of Revelation. I want to say chapter 1. Revelation chapter 1, you can pick it up at verse 5. Revelation chapter 1, verse 5. And from Yahushua HaMashiach, this is Revelation 1 and 5, who is the faithful witness, the first begotten of the dead, and the princes of the kings of the earth, unto him that loved us and washed us from our sins in his own blood, and have made us kings and priests unto Elohim, his Abba. To him be esteem and dominion forever and ever. Amen. Behold, he come with clouds. Every eye shall see him. They also which pierced him, and all kindreds of the earth shall well because of him. Even so, amen. And I'm probably going to mention this here throughout the course of this week, just because this is what I've been listening to. And then I'm also going to work into what we found out in regards to that explosion in Beirut yesterday. And I'll share that with you before we depart. But as a jit, you know, we was on this here, 14, 15, 16, 17 years old. There's no exaggeration. Me and my homeboys used to sit around, talk about this type of stuff, because that's what we were into at that time. I can remember a young lady I was dealing with at that time. She was like, you know, y'all talk about stuff that people my age, at our age, because I wasn't 2 years older than her, but really a year some change, don't discuss. You know what I'm saying? And what we were discussing is the unfolding of our reality right now. I can remember back in 94, 95, 96, 97. You know what I'm saying? A lot of our high school peers thought I was stone cold crazy for even believing that the notion of a society not having cash was tangible. And we here now. And everybody is looking at it because you ain't got no cash as, oh, this is the mark of the beast. Y'all should already know what the mark of the beast is. It's the covenant of the flesh. Remember, he said that the serpent will go upon his belly because he's a brute beast. whose God is his belly, he minds earthly things. When you think of mark of the beast, you know that this is a covenant of the flesh. Remember, he said he disannulled your covenant with death. When you deal with the flesh, you deal with death. If you're dealing with the beast, you're dealing with death because he's dealing with the flesh. Very easy to understand if you keep it contextual to the scriptures. Bump all these old smarty art niggas, super woke niggas, activist niggas, and all these old wannabe biblical scholars who don't know what in the world they're talking about. The scripture is plain. The epistles are plain. The gospels are plain, and they all agree together. They all agree together. And you know, the funniest part of me is how individuals will scream, and I can't disappoint because it came to mind, is the Black Power fist. Y'all already know because we've been through it. It's a sign of a symbol of her worship of an Egyptian deity. And how somebody that I mentioned that who looks at the scripture in the historical context say, oh, they can't just take everything and that I'm like, but bro, before it was Black Power, this is what it was. And before it was Black Power, it was a communist symbol. You know what I'm saying? So we can't look at stuff and only want to pick out the historical aspects of stuff that we want. We will be dishonest. You understand? So also looking at how are they going to make the world become one? I remember having a Dr. Malachi Z. York scroll and how he always referenced. Matter of fact, it was the scroll, and my memory served me correctly. It was the scroll that we were reading the day that I got incarcerated on the charge that sent me to prison. 360 questions to ask a Hebrew Israelite. I bought it from an African book, whatever you want to call it, bookstore on Lim Turner called Nefertiti's, right up the street from the doggone little bit of the street from where Checkers is on Lim Turner Edgewood right now to this day. You know what I'm saying? And he kept referencing Matthew 10:34. Think not that I come to bring peace, but to bring a sword, to bring division. So in his point in that scroll was to focus on how Hamashiach Elohim was not coming to unify. He wasn't, and he was, and if my memory serves, because it's been literally 16 years since I read this book. I would not read it again. You know what I'm saying? Just keep it honest with you. But I believe his point was to ask in regards to how can you say your God is this and your God is that when he's saying that he's not coming to bring people together. Because we would always think, how are they going to bring about a system in the world to cause everyone to see themselves as one and no difference between the other? Now, we always knew they were going to do it. And we always knew that they were going to pull a scheme to make you believe that you asking them for it was your own idea. But now, as we fast forward to 2020, we're looking at all the plots, plans, and schemes that they're doing to bring that about. They gave you Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff to make you not look at black and white anymore. You would just look at yourselves as one. So you could say, once Black Lives Matter, then we can say all lives matter. You ain't peeping the game. They tried to wipe away no more gender roles. They're trying to wipe away to call it a gender binary and say you're no longer male or female. It's just you're just here. They're doing it with the coronavirus. If you don't wear your mask, you're not doing your part to fight against this virus for the good of humanity. Shalom. Pay attention. Peep the game. Peep the game. You thinking that they disparaging Nick Cannon, Deshaun Jackson, anybody else for saying they're an Israelite. Now, this is one thing that I did know from my study of history in my youth, that in order to bring about a one world totalitarian police state, you must destroy nationalism. If you don't know what nationalism is, that is one taking pride in his country. You can't take pride in being an American. You can't take pride in being a German. You can't take pride in being Lebanese. You can't take pride in being Nigerian. You would just take pride in being a global citizen. And that's what they're doing right now. You have to peep the play. You can't be walking around here with your head in the sand thinking this is just this. You're seeing it happen. Because people call the police on you ain't got no mask. People look at you funny that you ain't got no mask because it shows a precursor, if you will, to those who will not serve the totalitarian system that will be ran by the beast. You know what I'm saying? You wondering why the economy is so bad and why they trying to crush this and crush that so they can take your wealth from you, so they can take everything they got from you, and that they can tell you how much money you can have, and they can tell you how much property you're going to have, but you won't be oppressed. The book already told you this. You going to be oppressed. If you think this is oppression, now wait till everything falls in line. Because the book say he going to wear the saints out. And that's just for you standing up for Elohim. But just imagine the oppression that's going to be in the earth when you have no more freedom. When you have no more liberty, if you will. No more private property, no more nothing. These people are going to tell you what you can have and how much of it you can have. Yahuwah has never done that. Yahuwah gave you a portion of land. After that, that was on you what you was going to get. However hard you grinded was what you was going to get based off your obedience to him. And the book tell you about that. If you was a slothful, lazy bastard, he said you was going to be hungry in harvest time, you wasn't going to have nothing. He said if you was a man of pleasure, you like to get drunk, you like to trick on hoes, you like to be foolish and wasteful, you ain't going to have nothing. And that ain't nobody's fault but yours, because you's an ignorant bastard, because you's a lazy bastard. You know what I'm saying? And you have to look at that. Because I think that is my personal opinion. And I felt like this since before I was in this word. That one of the biggest, most detrimental things to the black man, so-called in this country, was the lack of accountability, that he could empower himself and that he needed no one else to make his life better but himself and like-minded men as himself. There ain't no white man stopping you from getting no money. Ain't no white man stopping you from achieving your goals. Ain't nobody stopping you from getting nothing in this life but you. If you broke, you the reason why you broke, because you make bad decisions and you slothful. Now, are there people in this world that they had bad breaks? Absolutely. We're not that ignorant and asinine to think anything other. But at the end of the day, I said it last week, I'll say it again, you have to take responsibility for your life and put the necessary work in to get what you want. The book tell you look to the ant, man. The book tell you look to the ant when it comes time to getting on top of your stuff. We actually did a video on that, now that I think about it, years ago. But it got took down because the girls was running around while I was doing it, and they had their diapers on. So I was asked to, somebody say, you know, you should take that down and do this here. So that's not up. But we actually went over that a long time ago. And we probably need to revisit it. But come on here to verse 8 of Revelation 1. I'm the Aleph and the Tah, the beginning and the ending, saith the Lord, which is, was, and which is to come, the Almighty. I, John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Yahushua HaMashiach, was in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of Elohim, and for the testimony of Yahushua HaMashiach. I was in the Ruach on the Lord's day, and I heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, I'm the Aleph and the Tah, the first and the last. So you know if he's the Aleph and the Tah, he's the strength of the covenant, the head of the covenant, the leader of the covenant, if you will. Isaiah 55. 5 and 3. You have to look at that there, man. At the end of the day, if you want to have, you got to be self-sufficient. You know what I'm saying? You can't look for Mr. Charlie to come help you. Look for the government to come help you. Shalom, you can't look for that. That's retarded. Why are you looking for another man to do for you what you should be doing for yourself? People are always going to help you along the way in your journey in life. That's just life. You know what I'm saying? But we look for handouts. But when I say that, because we're always begging these people. I felt like this also back in high school. Yeah, people used to look at me crazy. Like, I couldn't have been alive during the civil rights era, because I'm not finna go sit at no lunch table and get my head bust in to eat with some people who don't want to eat with me. I'm not finna get dog sick on me and spray with water hoses to take a dump in the toilet that somebody don't want me to use. Screw you then. That's just how I felt. Screw you. If you don't want me around you, then screw you. I just have my own. Now, I've told y'all this in the past. if you're not familiar with it, go read the Kerner Commission for yourself. It was started by Lyndon Baines Johnson, the president that took over after the murder of John F. Kennedy. And it told you that integration was the worst thing that happened to Black people because you were self-contained. You had your own stuff, but you can feel validated by having your own stuff. You were only going to feel validated by being intermingled with people who had no desire to be intermingled with you. Because then you would feel like you made it when you worked in their corporations, when you worked in and you lived in their neighborhoods. I was talking to my homeboy about this today and talked about it yesterday. This year is the 100-year anniversary of the Negro League. There was a Negro League team in Jacksonville. They right here on Myrtle, Jacksonville Redcaps. And the Negro League got extinguished because it made me look up, because my granddaddy used to talk about Josh Gibson all the time. He was a way better hitter than Babe Ruth could ever dream of. You know what I'm saying? I hadn't talked about it in so long, it slipped my mind for a second what his name was, but when I looked him up, it came right back. Josh Gibson. I knew about Satchel Paige and you know what I'm saying, and all these other players who played in the Negro Leagues who eventually moved over into Major League Baseball, which effectively destroyed the Negro League. But if they had not had a desire to be validated to play with these Caucasians and just stayed off to themselves, the Negro League would probably still be here now if these Caucasians wouldn't have came up with a desire to sabotage it, because they wouldn't have had a desire to come want to play for you. You know what I'm saying? It's the same thing that a lot of brothers talk about as far as HBCUs in the NFL, because all the all-time great NFL players in the 70s and 80s, that's where they went to college at, because they couldn't go to these Power 5 conference schools then. You know, that's where Jerry Rice came from. That's where Walter Payton came from. That's where all of them came from. They came from HBCUs. They didn't have any choice. They weren't coming to look for them. But because your desire for validation, even though HBCU means nothing to me because they're started by Caucasians, they're funded by Caucasians. If you don't believe it, go look it up for yourself. You know what I'm saying? They just make you believe that you run that because they put a Black face on it. You didn't create it. Your money don't fund it. You take money from the government. You can't say that you're a Black-owned, Black-contained institution. You know what I'm saying? Just period, point blank. You know what I'm saying? You are not contained unless you fund it and own it yourself. If you don't fund it and own it yourself, then you got to turn around and look to somebody who don't look like you. Then you're just a highly paid caretaker. And it just is what it is. You understand? Because these colleges in the United States, your Floridas, your Florida States, your Miamis, all that there, they don't turn to look to somebody who look different than them when it comes to those institutions. You know what I'm saying? They don't do that. You can say whatever you want about any HBCU in this country. They got to turn around and deal with somebody who don't look like them. And they got to answer to them. And they have to do things according to what that person whom they answer to desires, or they don't get the funding that they want. They got to ask these people. When you got to turn around and tell people to support you, that means you don't own it. Because if you owned it, you wouldn't have to ask anybody to do that. Because you would already be contained in supporting yourself. You wouldn't need to ask other people to do it. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? That's a hard pill to swallow, but you got to swallow it and deal with it. Once you deal with it, what you gonna do about it? But nevertheless, Isaiah 55:3. Incline your ear and come unto me and hear, and your soul shall live. And I will make an everlasting covenant with you, even the sure mercies of David. Behold, I give him for a witness to the people, a leader and a commander to the people. A leader to the people. He told you to give ear. Now remember, leader is Neged. Remember, Noon, Gamal, Yah, Dalit. You know what I'm saying? This is your leader, your ruler, your prince, your overseer. He said he'll give you a leader. And he told you to hearken because he's given it to him for a witness. Remember, right? A good report makes the bones fat. Shalom, Brother Tony. A good report makes the bones fat. Remember, witnesses add testimony, evidence of things. Ayin and Dalit. You know the sacrifice. You know the hanging. Let's come back over here to Psalms 119. Keep that in mind with that witness. You dead. Ayin and Dalit. You know the sacrifice. You know it. And if you know it, then you bear witness that Elohim's testimony is true. You understand? Psalms 119 and verse 49. We're looking at Zayin today. Zayin is the character that we're looking at. We're going to do two, God willing. And Zayin is first up on deck. Zayin is first up on deck. Psalms 119 and verse 49. Matter of fact, hold on. Let me just take myself on over on this instead, because I know I'm gonna have to do that with these verses in here eventually. So I might as well just take myself around now. Now shouldn't I? So we look at Zayin, which you know means to cut, harvest. Let me get all the meanings that we got on deck for that there, so I don't leave nothing out. Let's not leave anything out. Let's be as thorough as we possibly can. Well, praise Elohim. So we look at Zayin, right? You got a plowing tool, harvest, food, dig, fruitful, cut off, weapon, and nourish. Let's look at verse 49. It says, remember the word unto your servant, which you have caused me to hope. Of course, you should remember that remember is Zakar, Zayin, Kaf, and Rosh. Remember the word which you have caused me to hope. Let's look at the next verse of verse 50. This is my comfort in my affliction, for your word hath quickened me. Again, this is referring us back to, again, the same single solitary concept. Because if you're looking at harvest for Zayin, then this is what it is. Remember the word which you have caused me to hope. Come over here to Romans chapter 8. See, the end of the day, a lot of us are not sitting back and you don't really hope or expect for anything from Elohim. So that's why you don't get anything from Elohim, because you have no expectation. 8 and 18. Your expectation should be the redemption of your body. Well, your body would only be redeemed because your body also with Zayin had been cut. You know what I'm saying? Why has your body been cut? Because you took up your stake and you followed the Lamb. And because you took up that stake, you were willing to die with him that you might be nourished. And if you might be nourished, meaning that you might be trained up. And if you'd be trained up, then of course you would be fruitful. And if you would be fruitful, then you would give off good food. And when you give off good food, this would make the bones fat because you would have a good word or a good report or a good witness because you would know the sacrifice. You understand? So we have to look at it in that aspect. And this is Romans 18. For I reckon that the sufferings of this present time are not worthy to be compared with the esteem which shall be revealed in us. For the earnest expectation, oh man, for the earnest expectation of the creature wait for the manifestation of the sons of Elohim. For the creature was made subject to vanity, not willingly, but by reason of him who have subjected the same in hope. Because the creature itself also shall be delivered from the bondage of corruption into the esteemed freedom of the sons of Elohim. We know that the whole creation groan and travail and pain together until now. And not only they, shalom, man, and not only they, but ourselves also, which have the first fruits of the Ruach, even we ourselves grown within ourselves, waiting for the adoption, to wit, the redemption of our body. Now, when he tell you about the redemption or the adoption, this is to make you a son of Elohim. This is to make you a son of Elohim. To bring you into his family. See, a lot of us don't understand that aspect of being brought into his family. When you get brought into his family because of the good report. Because remember, he said he gave him as a witness to the people. He's the Aleph and the Tau. He's the strength or the leader of the covenant. That's why I mentioned that before we read that about the mark of the beast, because that is a weak covenant. You know what I'm saying? Stop looking for some vaccines to be the mark of the beast. That's not what it is. It ain't no microchip. It ain't none of that. It's you being in agreement with Satan, the adversary. It is you being an adherent to the Babylonian Kemetic mystery school system, which worships the horned deity, who will no longer be called Pan, but be called the adversary of the serpent, as you know him as, according to this text. And there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. You know what I'm saying? All this other stuff that we be bantering about and all this, man, that junk ain't hitting on nothing. Because at the end of the day, they setting it up. You either with the goat or you with the sheep. That's it. That's it. That's it. That's what they formulate into. You can't see it because you bandied about the wrong things. I was told by what these people trying to do with these kids to make when they go back to school here in Duval County, all mental conditioning. All mental conditioning. It's all preparation to no longer see yourself as an individual, but just a part of the global community. It's bigger than a one man. Screw New World Order and all that other stuff, man. This junk is about the worship of ancient deities and the witchcraft and idolatry that goes along with it. All that other stuff, that's just cannon fodder. That's just good conversation for niggas who just like to hear themselves talk. But for those who are chosen of Elohim, this is them being able to pay attention to the signs and seasons. As he said, you see the signs, you see the sky lowering, you know that it's gonna be rainfall. You supposed to know what you're looking at when you see it. What good is it to have all this knowledge and information that we claim that we have to be deceived in the end? What good will that do for you? That you'll be deceived in the end and follow the adversary and get an agreement with the adversary and forsake the Kadash covenant. That's what the book tell you gonna happen. That's what the book tell you gonna happen. I know I was already told YouTube tripping. Ain't nothing tripping on my side, so I don't know what they got going on with that. So, verse 24: For we are saved by hope, but hope that is seen is not hope. But what a man see, why do he yet hope for? But if we hope for what we see not, then we do with patience wait for it. Now come back and look at Yahusha exhibiting that very, very statement. Let me see where we want to come at there with this here, man. Decide which gospel we're going to use for that because the passage is in my head, but the location escapes me. I have to make sure I pick the right one for us to look at. Well, first of all, about screw it. We come over here to Mark 14 and 62. If not, I just mention what's in my brain at this present particular time. Oh, that's what was in my head. I just seen it, and that's not context-wise in the order that we needed to be in for the point that I'm trying to make. Mark 14 and 62. Well, make it 61. But he held a shalom and answered nothing. And the high priest asked him and said unto him, Are you the Mashiach, the son of the Baruch? Yahusha said, I am, and you shall see the Son of Man sitting on the right hand of power, coming in the clouds of Shamahim. Now, we already read that in Revelation chapter 1, right? How he'll come with clouds. Now, he just let them be known. Now, he had already spoke. He had his earnest expectation of what he was going to receive, even though he could not see it. But though he could not see it, he waited for it because he already knew that he was going to be killed. They was already questioning him for the purpose of killing him. Now, you know that he stated, right? This is what give him comfort, right? As it says in Psalms 119, because in his affliction, his word has made him alive. This is what he told you. I'm going to read that to you again in Psalms 119. It says, This is the comfort in my affliction, for your word have made me alive or quickened me. Because it says, remember the word unto your servant upon which you have caused me to hope. See, come over here to Malachi chapter 3. From Malachi chapter 3 to Hebrews chapter 6. Now you got to remember, right? Yahuwah made a promise to Yahusha, no different than he made a promise to all of us. Malachi 3 and 16. And as we're about to read, he is not unrighteous. He said, then they that fear Yahuwah spake often one to another, and Yahuwah hearkened and heard it. And the book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Yahuwah and thought upon his name. Now, he's remembering the word of which he calls him to hope. Remember, the word that he calls him to hope is he would not suffer his Kadash one to see corruption. This is where Yahusha's hope rested. We didn't talk about that ad nauseum in the last few weeks. This is where his hope rested, in the word that Yahuwah told him. He said that if that word was his comfort in his affliction. Let's look at the word for comfort here. Let's see what we got here for comfort. Nakama. Comfort, consolation. Noon, Kot, Meme, and Hay. This is what gives me comfort and consolation when I'm being afflicted, because this very word has made me alive. Remember, they coming to the Son and they seeking to kill him. They seeking to kill him, not knowing they can't kill him, because he will resurrect and live forever, which is what we read already, which was, and which is to come. He said, I'm the one who have the keys of well, let me just go ahead and read it to you, because I'm about to say it backwards. Come over here to Revelation chapter 1. Verse 18. Just screw it. You can read 17. Revelation 1 and 17. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead, and he laid his right hand upon me, saying, fear not, I'm the first and the last. Again, I'm the Aleph and the top. I'm the strength of this covenant. I'm the leader of this covenant. He's the leader and commander of the people who was given for a witness. You would need to know the sacrifice if you hearken to allow him to be your leader. I am he that lived and was dead. And behold, I'm alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and death. This man got the keys to the grave. He got the keys to death. He didn't unlock that. You're free from that. You're no longer shackled to that, because he asked Elohim to remember the word which you caused your servant to hope, and in that affliction, that word has made me alive. That's why they say the Son quicken whom he will. See, come over here to John chapter 10. See, this is the point I need you to understand. Again, a good report make the bones fat or make the bones prosperous. See, then we still want to fly back to verse 4 in Proverbs 15, how wholesome tongue is a tree of life. Wholesome being sound tongue, pause. You know what I'm talking about? Just a sound mouth, sound words, if you would, is what it really say. Wholesome is marpe, right? That's healing, it's profitable. Sound mind gives cure. Right? That's a wholesome tongue. Lashon is a tree of life, but perverseness therein is a breach in the ruach. Now, of course, breach is a fraction. Perverseness is crookedness, which is select. You know what I'm saying? This is a crooked dealing. That's somebody who talks sideways. We'll deal with that a little later. But see, I'm going to sit back and look at it, right? Remember how I tell you that the tree, because this is where people, again, want to make things out to be what they want it to be. Revelation 22 tell you how that tree, just come on around here and look at it. See, I want you to understand what that is. See, y'all should know what it is, because by the grace of Elohim, we've been taught better than that, and we've been showed better than that. And we would not repeat the things that carnal-minded people utter out of their mouth. We wiser than that. That's only a gift of Elohim. You ought to thank him for it, that you can understand what he wants you to understand. Revelation 22 and 1. And he showed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Elohim and of the Lamb. In the midst of the street of it, and on the either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits and yielded her fruit every month, and the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nation. Now, see, people will take you and see that's why you got to get the herbs, because the herbs for the healing of the nation. And that's not what that man said. That man said that was the tree of life. Those trees out there ain't the tree of life. Don't be no simpleton. Because you already know what tree of life was at. That was the tree that was in the midst of the garden in the beginning. He already told you, he that overcome, he will cause him to eat from the tree of life. Let's just look at it so the Lord can tell you. Because if a wholesome tongue is as a tree of life, that means that a wholesome or a healthy or curing word is a tree of life. Sit there and think about that, and then understand what that tree of life is expounding to you. Remember, Lashon is tongue or organ of speech. So a healthful speech, sound words. See, hold on. It's a lot of stuff coming to my brain as it pertains to this here. And we're going to work all of it tonight. God willing, that's what we're going to do. See, before we go any further, let me get this stuff already set up and lined up. Now, while I was swinging at Revelation chapter 2, now look at verse 7. Look what he takes now. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Ruach saith unto the synagogues. To him that overcome will I give to eat of the tree of life, which is in the midst of the paradise, Elohim. Now, he just told you that the tree of life was for the healing of the nation. Now, come back to Ezekiel 47, because I just want you to see the words that are used there. They tell you that it's medicine. We looked at the tree of life already. Y'all already know the trees in the garden is the tree of life and the law and faith. And we still got to come back in, praise Elohim, to work back in when we were talking about grace and truth, and look at every single solitary place, most of them are in Psalms, that talks about mercy and truth, kindness and amah. Because that's what Hamashiach brought. Hamashiach didn't bring you no law. He brought you kindness and amah. That's what he brought you. He brought you kased and amah. Let that be known. When you let that be known, what you think the tree of life is bringing to you? Let me get in the right spot. Ezekiel 47:12. It tells you that the leaves thereof shall be for medicine. And again, that's terufa, healing, a remedy. A remedy. And for those who would like to know, it's Tau, Rosh, U, Pei, and Hey. We're not dealing with spelling stuff out, and that y'all willing we'll revisit that. He said this is for a remedy. That's what it is. It's a remedy. Well, what are you trying to remedy? You're trying to remedy death. That is the remedy. That's what you need healing from. Remember, he said he made man upright. Man sought out many inventions. He gave man the opportunity between life and death. He could have ate from the tree of life and lived forever. Genesis 3 already tell you that. So when you look at it, it's for the healing of the nations, or the remedy of the nations. What are the nations being remedied from? Death. See, come back over to Hebrews 6 before I forget, because we call for that. So let's don't get that out the way in regards to him remembering the word, which he calls you to hope in. We pick it up at 6 and 9. Let Elohim be praised in all things. Hebrews 6 and 9. But beloved, we are persuaded better things of you, and things that accompany salvation, though we thus speak. For Elohim is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love which you have showed towards his name, and that you have served to the saints and do serve. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end, that you be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promises. And see, that goes back to what I was talking. See, if you're lazy on natural stuff, you're going to be lazy when it comes to this word. See, Elohim can't do nothing for you when you're a lazy nigga. You know what I'm saying? You got to get up. You got to do what you got to do. You got to handle your business. Get your butt up and handle your business. Because see, when you're lazy and you're moving slow towards them promises, you're not going to get them. See, you're going to be like them unwise virgins in Matthew chapter 10. You ain't going to have no oil for your lamp. And when the bridegroom comes, you ain't going to be ready because you were lazy, thinking you could just sit up and play around. Remember, he told you, oh, my master delay his coming. Let me eat, drink, and eat the maid servants. And he said he going to come at an hour when you least think he come, and he going to tear you to pieces and apport you your portion with the hypocrites and the unbelievers. Ain't no need for you to go out like that. You understand? But he said he coming for a healing. So he tells you that a wholesome tongue, a wholesome speech is as a tree of life. That gospel is as a tree of life because it don't get no more sound than that. Come over here to 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 7. And then after that, 2 Timothy chapter 4. Make it verse 6. Or make it 5, man. It ain't gonna make no difference. Shoot. You can make it 3. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 3. 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 3. Look at what it says. As I besought you to abide still at Ephesians when I went into Macedonia, that you might charge some that they teach no other doctrine. He telling Timothy, when you slide around there to Macedonia, tell them boys, don't you teach nothing else now. See, we ain't got that type of stuff going on. Don't nobody want to come around and tell these boys, stop teaching that trash you teaching, boy. That's trash you teaching. That junk sucks. It's no good. Who told you that? You lying. You don't know what you're talking about. See, he waking up people to the truth. He telling them who they is, so it don't even matter. And that junk, they're going to get you something to hell. Not because you around here teaching, because you ain't got what you need to live. It ain't going to benefit or profit you. See, we don't be can. You know what I'm talking about? We don't be can. Because it appeals to our sensibilities. It appeals to our pride. That's why we don't be can. Keep it hot with you. Let's roll though. Neither give heed to fables and endless genealogies, which minister questions rather than godly edifying, which is in faith, so do. See, that's the thing we got going on. People talk about stuff that all it do is it leads to more questions. So individuals are not instructed in godliness. See, Mashiach wasn't going to entertain that, and neither were the apostles. And Paul was teaching Timothy to not entertain such things. See, again, because a wholesome tongue is as a tree of life, and a good report makes the bones fat. See, it's more important to maintain the godly. Well, what about this part? See, that's nigga talk. See, when I say nigga talk, that's irrelevant talk. That's I want to seem smart. That's the Damon Wayans character on Living and Living Color talk. Because you want to seem like you smart and you're really instructing somebody in something that does not benefit nor profit them. It don't instruct them in godliness. What's the point of the conversation? It's not the point of the Gospels. It's not the point of the law and the prophets to instruct you in godliness. What's the point of dealing with stuff that all it does is minister more questions? See, one thing that people don't learn about me is I'm not going to entertain it. I mean, dude be like, who Esau is? I'm like, nigga, I don't know. I don't spend my time worrying about it. I can tell you about who that is in the gospel, though. I can show you the Lord out of that if you want to see that. And dude, look at me, what you mean? What I look like talking about who Esau is, man? What I look like, bro? What do I look like? Oh, you thought I was like you, huh? I'm not. I don't care. That don't benefit or profit nobody. Tell me how I can save my soul. Then you know what they tell you when you say that? See, you religious, brother. You over spiritualizing stuff. Whatever, my nigga. I just know you ain't the type of person I want to kick it with. Just based off your response. Because I asked you, what can you tell me that can help me save my soul, which is more beneficial to me? That's like somebody coming to you asking you, can you give me, I want to start a business like you doing. How can I do it? And you go to telling me something that ain't got nothing to do with that. I know I don't want to fool with you. You know why dudes don't do that? See, they don't give you godly edification for one or two reasons. They either don't have it or they feel threatened. See, one of the biggest things in the street they used to tell you, game is to be sold, not told. Truth be told, game is to be told. If you got it, give it away. You ain't no threat to me. And you know how I say that? Because I know dudes who are millionaires. I literally know a man. This is no exaggeration. I have no idea, Kira. You'd have to ask people who say that what that means, because I couldn't dig. I know a man who, no exaggeration, this man owns 1,500 rental properties in Jacksonville, Florida, single family homes. Just on general principle, if he made $400 a month cash flow, positive cash flow, off them, that man would make $600,000 a month, which equates to $7.2 million a year. And do you know this man will sit down and allow you to learn everything he knows about real estate if you ask him? He will hold nothing back from you. He is not threatened by you, nor concerned about you, because he know he gonna eat regardless. I know a couple other men, literal millionaires, who feel the same way. Well, they will teach you whatever they know, whenever, as long as it's conducive and fitting into their time frame of what they got going on. For these busy men, they are not threatened by sharing with you information. They're not going to charge you for it. They're not going to blow smoke up your behind. They're going to give you the game because they want you to eat too. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to sit back and be like, I'm going to hoard all this here because I don't want you to get it. I want you to get it too. But I'm going to keep it to myself for. But that's the difference of how brothers like to call it an abundance mindset. They know there's plenty of money out here for everybody. Everybody can eat. See, people who's scared, they always worry about, they don't want nobody to get no more money than them. They worry about losing. And when you focus on losing, you ain't never going to gain. When you focus on, I got to keep this person over here because I don't want them with me. See, I see that in the dope game all the time. Dudes don't want you to eat because they want to keep you up under them. You know what I'm saying? Because they see you as competition. See, the book told, Yahusha told his apostles, freely you given, you've been given, so freely you give. Well, you get this away. You ain't got to cuff it. Paul told him, he said, I ain't held back nothing that's profitable to you because I'm not threatened by you. I want you to have it. If you have it, that means we can all do it together. I keep it to myself. I'm the only one who got it. I mean, I'm the only one who can eat. And if I fall off, what's going to happen? Or it's going to have everybody's eyes turn to me and want to put their guns on me. You know what I'm saying? You should want everybody to eat. But see, that's the thing. That's what people don't want. They don't want what they perceive to be competition because they ain't not secure in themselves. I don't care about nobody knowing. Some people know that now. Who, if you really say, man, I want to teach, man, this, and you got yourself aligned with that word, I ain't got no problem taking the time out and instructing you properly so you know what you need to know to go do what you need to do. What does that mean to me? That man told you the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Ain't no way on y'all's green earth I could be able to instruct all the people on this earth. And I'd be a damn fool to think I could. And I ought to go to hell for it, because that ain't nothing but pride. But that's how a lot of people think, though, man. They feel like, oh, they threatened. Can't let nobody see that somebody is as good or greater than me. That whole stuff. But let's continue. He said, now the end of the commandment is love out of a pure heart and a good conscience and a faith unfaked, for which some have swerved, having turned aside unto vain jangling, desiring to be teachers of Torah, understanding neither what they say nor where they affirm. They don't know what they're talking about. But we know that Torah is good if a man use it lawfully, knowing this, that the Torah is not made for a righteous man, but for the lawless and disobedient, for the ungodly, for sinners, for the unkadash, profane, murderers of fathers, murderers of mothers, for manslayers, whoremongers, for men that defile themselves with mankind, men stealers, liars, perjured persons. And if there be any other thing that is contrary to sound doctrine, what does sound doctrine mean in Greek? We've already talked about this in the past, but let's bring it up again. Let's bring it up again. Sound is hagano, and it means to be well, good health, healthy. You understand? See, we got to be healthy. And see, that's the thing that we're not. We're not a healthy people. not a healthy people because we duck what will make us healthy. 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 1. Now the Ruach speak expressly that in the latter time some shall depart from the faith, giving heed to seducing spirits and doctrines of devils. That's what you're seeing out here right now. You got all manner of teachings of devils. You got people telling people ain't no more male and female. Niggas out here dealing with witchcraft, worse than all manner of gods in the open with no change. We don't question anything. That makes absolutely no sense that these people feed to you. See, let me show y'all something, right? Some of y'all seen the explosion in Beirut. It was a sight to see. It definitely looked odd when I saw it. But this is what this day represented. Yesterday was August 4th. August 4th was a feast for the Greek goddess Artemis, or who some of you know as Diana. She is mentioned in the text in the book of Acts of how they love that goddess Diana, that dog-headed whore Diana. Who knows? That might have been who Michael Jackson was singing about on Dirty Diana, as far as we know. Because she is a dirty whore. She is a whore. She is a harlot. August 4th was a feast for her. And she is the defender of rights and liberties and the punisher of rapists and oppressors. But it also begins the Celtic tree month of Hazel and the Celtic fire festival of Tan Hill, which leads into the Druid feast of the fire spirits, which is the Roman Venalia Rustica, or the wine festival of Venus and Pan, who these people worship, the mother goddess and the horn god Pan. But then it flies right into this. Now, this is all this week and next week coming up. This is stuff they venerate now. I just want you to understand that. All of this is beginning from really August 2nd. August 1st actually began, which we're going to hear about this in a moment. Lungasta, which is the Lamash Sabbat, or the first harvest, or the first festival of the sun, the Celtic sun god Lugh, which led to the Feast of the Black Madonna, or the celebration of the Dark Goddess, which led us to the Day of Dryads, which is the Greek celebration of the Macedonian maiden spirits of wood and water. And if you paid attention, the building that blew up on the port or near the water. All these people do is work out ancient mythologies and festivals and sacrifices in your face. Because this is who they worship. No matter if you believe it or not. Same way that they look at you for serving Yahuwah, that's what they doing. Now, I mentioned the other days, and then it gets us to August 11th to August 13th, a feast of the Father Sky, honoring God as Obata, or Obtala, who is the Yoruba Centuria god, which, of course, Beyonce just dropped some dump where she was worshiping Yoruba deities in the video. All this stuff went around on the same time. And he's also known as Oranos, Savrog, Tarnis, Thor, and Dias. Dias is Hindu, Tarnius is Celtic, Thor is Norse, Savrog is Slavic, and Oranos is Greek. It is the Celtic Puck Fair, or fertility festival, which leads to August 12th, which is the Lights of Isis, the festival of the Egyptian goddess Isis. This is all the stuff that they got going on. This is from the beginning of August to August the 12th. You see a whole bunch of people get blown up, this, that, there, and the third. But what was that got blown up? It's the bonfires of Celtic lore. In Celtic lore, it's the festival of Tan Hill, otherwise known as Tanin, who is their deity of fire. A huge bonfire would be lit. Then all who attended would light the fires in their own homes from the flames. The main communal point of the bonfires at Lugansad and the other great Celtic seasonal feast was to unify the clan. That was the purpose of that feast, and that's what they're probably going to use this thing, because allegedly, I actually seen him say it. Trump said it was an attack. But all this stuff, they said the purpose of this feast was to unify the clan. And then that goes back to what I was discussing earlier. The purpose of everything that is going on in the earth is to unify the people in rebellion against Yahuwah, against Yahusha, against the living Elohim, the creator of Shamahim and Arats. That is the purpose. Period. That's what it's about. Let me continue this here. He said, before they gathered all the cones, logs, and branches, all the villagers extinguished their hearths and all other lights and doused their torches so that the village would be in the total darkness as the ceremony began. And when the fire ceremony ended, all the families would light their torches from the sacred fire so that when they relit their hearth fires, all would be sharing fire from the same source. The sacred fire called the Tanin or Tan gave its name to the Tan Hill Festival, best known for the countless communal fire rituals performed by the Celts in the first week of August. Tan means fire, and the date of the fair falls at the very time of year when the fire worshippers are known to have celebrated their rites on hills. The night before all the fires in the country were extinguished, the next morning the materials for exciting the sacred fire were prepared and set alight by friction of wood, and the resulting fire was attributed to heaven and esteemed preservative against bad luck and disease. Fires lit upon Tan Hill could be seen for miles around, as that explosion was, thus rendering it a peculiarly suitable place for those heathen ceremonies where crowds assembled regularly at certain seasons. Celtic folklore, the dance of the moon, celebrated the cycles of the earth, especially Lughnasadh, and marked the close of the sun's contest with the powers of darkness. It was a great event. This is traditionally the time when the power of the god wanes as the goddess waxes. This is transition. It's symbolized in the zodiac by the fading solar energy of Leo, yielding the fertility of Virgo, bearer of grains, grapes, and the harvest. Now remember, Paul already told you that these people worship the creation and not the creator. These people are seduced, with seducing spirits. Either those that are evil are waxing worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And this stuff going on in the earth, because believe it or not, it's a lot of niggas believe in Yoruba. It's a lot of niggas who follow this stuff. It's a lot of people. Somebody told me they seen a dude. He said, I used to be an Israelite. And you know that's funny. You know why that's funny? Not because he said he used to be an Israelite. I know some people like, you can't stop being an Israelite, but they equate the faith of Elohim to being tied to being an Israelite. Because that's really what he was saying. I used to believe in you, but you made him believe that it was about being an Israelite. See, that's the Let's keep rolling though. Speaking lies and hypocrisy, having their conscience seared with a hot iron. Having their lies, speaking lies and hypocrisy, conscience seared with a hot iron. See, Yahuwah done turned them reprobate. Because they telling lies. They telling lies on stuff they don't even follow their doggone self. I'm in 1 Timothy 4. I'm meant to be in 2 Timothy 4. That's my bad. I bless. And ain't nobody said nothing. 2 Timothy 4 and 1. I charge you therefore before Elohim and the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, who shall judge the quick and the dead at his appearing and his kingdom. Preach the word. Instant, in season, out of season, reprove, rebuke, exhort with all long suffering and doctrine. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but after their own lust shall they heap to themselves teachers having itching ears, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth and shall be turned unto fables. Same thing, same difference. Believing in anything. Believing in anything. Back to Psalm 119, man. It's serious out here. That's why we've been preaching the gospel the whole time. We ain't changed. But we're going to keep preaching the same thing. Whether people want to hear it or not, don't make me no never mind. Don't make me no never mind. Psalm 119, verse 51. We at least got to finish Ayin. I got to let y'all get up out of here. We had an hour right now. He said, the proud have me greatly in derision, yet have I not declined from your Torah. If you recall, derision is to laugh at, to mock, to speak arrogantly towards. As you know, they mock Mashiach. He ain't turned from that word. I remember your judgments of old, Yahuwah, and have comforted myself. Again, that's Nakam for comfort. He said he remembered his judgments. He remembered what Yahuwah said was right or wrong. That comforted him. Does that do that for you? Do you get comfort for that in that regard? Horror have taken hold upon me because of the wicked that forsake your law. Your statutes have been my songs in the house of my pilgrimage. Let's look at pilgrimage. It's Magor. It's your dwelling place. Understand that. That's your place of lodging. Meme, Gamal, U, and Raj. So you got Ruach there. You can lift up the Ruach and you secured that to the highest. Because you lifted up the Ruach, you secured yourself to the highest in your dwelling place. When you lifting up the Ruach, when you lifted up that word. Lift up that word then. Because he said, your statutes been my songs in the house of my lodging. Songs is Zamir here. This is for your song. Saim, Meme, God, and Raj. Your word. That means that word is a song in your heart, right? Look at verse 55. I remembered your name, O Yahuwah, in the night and have kept your law. This I had because I kept your precepts. Remember when Yahushua went to drinking that cup, he drank it in the night, didn't he? Kept his word. So you have to sit back and look at that, man. And we'll stop right there with we won't get another character in tonight. We'll try to work 3 in on Shabbat if Yahuwah permit. But the other thing to sit back and look at, right? The leaves of that tree is for the healing of the nations. The leaves of that tree is for everlasting life because it gives the healing that is needed. See, you're not going to be healed. See, come over here to Isaiah 25. See, you're not going to be healed from death if you don't partake in that tree, and you have to overcome. And when you notice that in this Psalms 119, dealing with Zayin, which is to be fruitful, it steady showed you how this individual took comfort in the word. The comfort in the word is what allowed him to overcome. So whatever affliction, whatever mocking, whatever it is that you're going to experience, which of course we know Yahushua experienced all of that. His comfort was in the word. That would allow him to overcome so he could have right to the tree of life in the midst of the paradise of Elohim. Because what he promises you, if you overcome in Revelation, are all the things that were promised to him if he overcame. And he's already overcame the world. And he told you to be of good cheer. So if you know this, you're supposed to be comforting yourself in that same word. So see, we don't comfort ourselves in the same word. See, we comfort ourselves in outside things. See, some people comfort themselves in conversation, arguing about things. Some people comfort themselves in vagina or penis. Some people comfort themselves in alcohol or drugs. Some people comfort themselves in the validation and acceptance of others. It's many things that people use to comfort themselves, but very few. Very, very few use the word to be their comfort. That's why you see so many people. Indeed, we have to. That's why you saw so many people turn away. Because at the end of the day, the word ain't comforted them because that ain't what they're looking for. Isaiah 25, and then we shall depart for this evening. 25 and 6, if you would. And in this mountain shall the Yahuwah of hosts make unto all people a feast of fat things, a feast of wines on the lees, fat things full of marrow, wines on the lees well refined. He will destroy in this mountain the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations. He will swallow up death and victory. Yahuwah Elohim will wipe away tears from all faces, and the rebuke of his people shall he take away from all the earth. Yahuwah has spoken it. And it shall be said in that day that, lo, this is our Elohim. We have waited for him, and he will save us. This is Yahuwah. We have waited for him. We will be glad and rejoice in his salvation. See, we don't rejoice in his salvation now, so you know we're not looking to rejoice in it later. But hallelujah for Yahushua in the word. I appreciate everybody this evening. Bless y'all out in the house of Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua. Like again, I said, we're going to go through Psalms 119. That is our mission. To go along with what we're talking about, a wholesome tongue is a tree of life, and a good report make the bones fat. When you look at what he's saying, that word has quickened me in my affliction, that's what made him to be prosperous. Is that word and that hope in that word. You understand? That wholesome tongue is a tree of life, and the leaves of that tree is for the healing of the nations. That's your remedy. That's your cure. Well, you need to be cured from death. You need to be cured from death. That's what you need healing from. But we ain't at that point to understand that yet. But again, I bless y'all out the house of y'all name of Yahushua. I appreciate you. Who are willing, we'll pick it up on the Shabbat and make it do what it do. And until that time, I bid you adieu.